So one of the most important skills in editing Wikipedia is actually learning how to cite sources. So if you add a sentence to an article, most of the time you should be adding a citation that supports any facts that you have in your sentence. And so here's an example. If we're looking at Ottessa Moshfegh's life, right here it talks about how she was born in 1981 and raised in Boston. And there's number 5 here pointing to a source that should support that she was born in 1981 and raised in Boston. And if that's not true, then other editors might look at that source and realize it and change how the sentence is written later. Or if they find that there are other sources that conflict, then they might do an analysis of all the different sources and change how the article is written. And so in general, citing sources is really important, especially for articles about living people like this one, or articles about medicine or controversial topics. And in general, I like to add a citation to the end of every single sentence that I write that includes facts like this, because it's just much easier for people to understand where the encyclopedia is getting this information from and to be edited later, or for other people that use the encyclopedia to explore more about a topic. And the other thing I'll add is that if you have a lot of sentences that are using the same source, like if everything in this paragraph was all supported by source 4 here, you could just have a source at the very end of your paragraph and people will be able to understand that many of these facts are coming from this one source. So let's learn how to actually add a citation. So I've gone out and found an article about Ottessa Moshfegh, and this is by Electric Lit, and it's talking about an award that she won in 2013 for some of her works. Over in her career section, if we look at the works, it only starts in 2014, so I'm ready to add some new information to this article. So I'll click Edit, and immediately we get this big warning. Because this is an article about a living person, if I'm adding any new information to the article, it needs to cite a high-quality source for that information. And luckily, Electric Lit fits the guidelines. So I'm going to add a new paragraph. Okay, so I've written this sentence, and now it's time to add a citation. There's a couple different ways you can do this. Because we're in the visual editor, which is Wikipedia's newer, nicer looking editor, then I can just go up to the top and click this little quotation button, and that will let me add a new citation. There's another way to do this too, and that is if I'm using the older editor style, which is to type in these special command for a reference. And this will lead me to the same window. It'll disappear. And now that I have this window open, I'm just going to take the URL of the article and copy it in here. And we'll see what happens. It's going to try to make a citation for me. And it looks like it's gotten some of the details right. This is a website. The name is Bettering Myself, and it's by Electric Literature. But it's got a couple mistakes here. It's a little confused by the last numeric name, which is up here. It's basically thinking that the last name of the author of this article is this number, and it's confused about that. And so we're going to just fix it. So I've inserted the citation, and now I'm just going to edit it. And here's the same thing, but written in a more user-friendly way. So here's the last name, and it tells you what it's looking for. It's not looking for a number, so I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to search around. And this article's a little weird because it includes Ottessa Moshfegh's own short story, but what I'm actually citing here is this introduction by a different author. And so I'm going to cite that author's name. And here, just to make that clear, I'm going to say that this is the introduction. And for the source date, this is correct. It often inputs the source date automatically in this numeric format. Because this is an article about an American author, I'm going to change this around to a date format that's pretty common here, and I like to read it better. And then looking down here, this is not an archived URL. If you're worried about this original website getting deleted, then you could go over to archive.org and archive the page and then record that URL here. It's probably already archived, and in that case, you could just look for it and then copy the URL. And there's also other people that will go around afterwards and add these archived citations. So that's all really useful later on. Right now, I'm just going to skip past that, and I'm going to check, yes, it's got the access date right, it's got the name of the website right, and it's recorded that it's a US version of English. So this is all set. We're good to go. We can apply the changes. And now the citation looks correct. So if I click out here and I press publish, we can review my changes to see that we still like what I've added. And we've added one sentence up here in the works section. We've added a new inline citation, and the full citation appears automatically in the references section. And you can even preview that if we scroll down to the references. There's a lot of references here. It's a little hard to click on one individually, but if we go down here, it's the same citation I was working on earlier. So the last thing I'll say is that if we wanted to add another citation to this, so let's say we have a new sentence somewhere else and we repeat this, I could just click on this and copy it and paste it. But another way to add a citation to something that you've already cited here is to add a new citation. And instead of automatically creating a new one, we're going to reuse an earlier citation. And this lists out every citation used in the article, but we'll just search for mine. And here we go. This is my citation. The last thing I want to say is that sometimes when you enter the URL for your citation, it really doesn't work. And so if I delete this and make a new one, and I've failed to add this URL, maybe it's completely failed to make a citation, or maybe it just looks really messy or wrong, there's an alternative by going to the manual section. And here I could make another website citation. You can also cite a book, a newspaper, or some other format in news, or a journal. And if none of these really fit your source, you can click Basic and just write something in by hand. If you want to insert a citation template, there's a special format for adding a citation template. If you click the plus sign, template, then we could say cite, and some options will pop up. And so some of these options are exactly like we've seen before. Cite book will eventually look like you just pressed the button to cite a book. Same thing with cite web. That's shorthand for the website format that we cited earlier. But there's new ones like a map, an encyclopedia, very specific type of book, a tweet. And you can find a list of all these citation formats later. And so if we do it this way, then we still end up on this field where you can enter in all of these details about the source you want to cite, but it allows you to do it in a new way. And so it enters this info, you would fill in all of the missing issues, and then you would insert it as a citation. And the eventual format is still this little citation number with a window that references more information. And so that's the main way to cite sources. I do this basically for every sentence that I write, and it's really, really useful for helping work together with other people to edit the encyclopedia.